So, I want to talk about the recent incident that happened in Afghanistan where we had to withdraw, and some people are comparing it to Vietnam. Not a bad comparison, but I'm going to tell you later why we shouldn't be doing that. I'm a former soldier. I have a 90% disabled VA rating. I had suffered cancer when I was in Iraq. I went through a lot of emotional stuff, especially with my ex-wife and all the bad stuff that she's done. But I'm going to tell you basically why the military fails, and fails completely on a daily basis. Not the Air Force, not the Navy. So I'm going to start back when I was at Fort Benning. So I joined the Army at year 2000, before 9/11 happened, okay? So in year 2000, I think it was March, April, like May, May, I joined. So I go to this unit called 2nd 258. It's supposed to be known as Hell's Kitchen. It's supposed to be the hardest place to train in the road. Basic training was the easiest place I've ever been. In all honesty, working at McDonald's, dealing with customers is harder than basic training. If you feel basic training, you're just a miserable lowlife, in my opinion. I'm not trying to be mean, but basic training is so unbelievably easy that getting a Cub Scout badge was harder. Literally harder. So, it's hot where I'm at. So I get to this unit, and there's a lot of screwed up people there. A lot of people shouldn't even been in the military. We had this guy named Cox. Always wanted to fight everybody. Always thought he was big and bad. Always in the front lean and rest, which is the push-up position, right? He ended up getting really muscular at the end because he stayed down the whole entire time because he was stupid. He used to brag that me and him got into fights. We never got in a fight. He was just a stupid idiot. We also had this idiot Drill Sergeant Carroll, but we had two good drill sergeants. I think both are named Davis, but Drill Sergeant Carroll, there's something a little off with him, right? So basic training is only supposed to be 3.5 months long, okay? A few months in, you get your first bivouac, what they call, what you might call camping. So we go on this bivouac, and it was really odd for Fort Benning to have any kind of like cold air whatsoever, but that night got really crispy air, and a lot of people ended up getting sick. So much so, I think 70% of our company had went down. So they call in a couple of the medical units to come in to treat us. So they separate everybody. So I was good, a few other people were good. So we were down almost 2 weeks with this, I want to say influenza A. It might have been pneumonia, it could have been a combination of both, right? And so we are getting treated by these medics. Sorry, I keep hitting my mic here. So we didn't do nothing for those 2 weeks. Now, what we did try to do is we try to go over some basic paperwork, go over, the basic stuff that you're supposed to learn, the basic training. We did what we could with that 2 weeks without going to the field. So finally, everybody starts to get a little better, right? We go into the field for 1 day. We're supposed to go, I think, for a few days. We get called back. Apparently, this new general at Fort Benning, or the general, I don't know if he was new, said, you know what? We should play sports. So we were in basic training. We stopped and played sports. Don't get me wrong, I love sports. I think everybody should play sports. But we are in basic training. There's already problems with a couple of people that we were in basic training with. I had a basic training with a bunch of idiots as it is. I mean, just really big, deep down idiots. And so we get back, and we already missed out on 2 weeks of medical down. Now we have another week of sports. We're basketball, track and field, I think volleyball, any sport that can be played there. Everybody joined a different sport, right? And it was just remarkable to me that we lost 3 weeks of basic training already in a 3.5 month, the 3 months and 2 weeks that you're supposed to go to basic for infantry. Most people go to basic training, I think, for a month, and you go into your field of study. But infantry is just 3.5 months straight, basically, okay? So, right at the end, we're trying to go to our last night in the field. This is the last hoorah. We're going against other platoons. We're going to learn everything we're supposed to be learning. Alpha, Bravo drills, whatever. So we were walking next to this hill. Okay, so we're walking, and I see movement up on the hill. It was clear movement. I'm not trying to be mean, but everybody in the company, instead of looking down, should have been looking everywhere. It was a half moon. You can see the beams of light coming through and the shadows running. So I told Drill Sergeant Carroll, who was screwed up from the floor up, there's people on that hill. That's the enemy platoon. Drill Sergeant Carroll looked at me, said with a loud voice, because we're supposed to be quiet, "Don't you think if there's somebody on that damn hill that I would know and I would tell you?" Okay, Drill Sergeant Carroll, you're a drill sergeant. You're in charge. What do I know? Sure enough, they open up fire. All of our miles gear, which is our laser, starts beep. That means you've been shot with a laser. He looked stupid 3 seconds after he said that. This is not the first time this has happened. So we were graduating. Sergeant Major threatened to pull us all back in basic training because we couldn't march. We were tore up from the floor up. Everybody kept arguing. We were supposed to be in formation of quiet. People wouldn't shut up. This was the most undisciplined unit ever to come out of Sand Hill, the place that you train for the infantry. I'm talking, I would not want to go to war with any of these people. The United States Army, matter of fact, was so screwed up at the time, we had a guy named Cooper, who was actually pretty cool. I like Cooper. He used to draw from Marvel, I think, Incredible Hulk, if I remember correctly. He was supposed to join the Army to become an artist. The Army was so screwed up that he went to infantry training. Right at the end of infantry training, they said, "Oh yeah, I guess we screwed up." They sent him over to be an artist. He is literally the most high-speed artist there is. The only artist in the United States Army that got infantry training, which is cool, right? So I go to a unit called 1st of the 29th, okay? And at 1st of the 29th, there were some problems instantly. There were racial problems. This is probably the most racist unit I've ever been. And if anybody knew my life story, they would have known that black people were the first people that rescued me from the abuse I was in. Black people are always the first people to help me out. There's never the white people or anybody else. I'm never big on white or black. I don't care about all that. The point I'm making is, I'm not racist, and I was probably happy that the company was at 70% black. I was used to it, right? It didn't bother me, it didn't faze me. Problem was that some of the black people there were racist. So we had a first sergeant and a few others that went to his all-black college. There was an E7. Sometimes he was the acting first sergeant when our first sergeant was gone. He was probably the worst of this bunch. I don't remember his name, but one time I got in a car accident because I was driving a black girl to try to shoot a supply. I was taking her to pick up some stuff, and I get hit by a car. And my hand, in a Ford Probe windshield, if anybody knows anything about a Ford Probe, the windshield is really slanted, and I'm a big guy. So when I got hit, my hand went through there. And he said, "What'd you do? Hit the windshield? Did you punch it? That's what you white people do." Oh, jeez. As soon as I said, "Oh, geez," a bunch of NCOs start running over there. "Put your hands behind your back, parade ref." I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Here's the dramatic drama. The guy just says something racist. Yell at the private. "Put your hands behind your back." Yeah, whatever. Back in my mind, it's like, man, these idiots. So anyway, he does his whole racist rant. All his black friends come over to help him be racist. But the worst racist I've seen was from Sergeant Sweat and maybe Sergeant Bailey. So, Sergeant Bailey never really liked me to begin with, right? I don't know why. I did everything he told me to do. So when everybody was getting promoted, my name wasn't called to get promoted, which I don't care about being promoted. I wasn't in the Army to be promoted. I didn't plan on staying in the Army anyway. It was a waste of time. But for some reason, I did get promoted. They just didn't call my name. So afterwards, Sergeant Bailey calls me through a fence. So there's like when you leave the thing, you go downhill, there's a fence. And Sergeant Bailey was trying to get me rank through the fence. I says, "No, you should have got me my rank up there." He goes, "Do you want it or not?" And I said, "No," and I walked away. So I had to wait a few more months before I got officially my E2. You don't do that to me. You don't put soldiers' rank on through a fence, Sergeant Bailey. And you're still giving me nightmares about that. Why would you do that? Why would you think that was a good idea, Sergeant Bailey, with your low IQ self? But Sergeant Sweat takes the cake. So we had another soldier who was big as me, but he didn't look at me, he was as big as me. Size comparison, we looked way different. So this soldier got in trouble for something. I don't remember what, per se. So Sergeant Sweat becomes a drill sergeant. He has a stuttering problem. Shouldn't even been in the Army. Should be complete obvious he shouldn't be in the Army. Nobody with a stuttering problem should be in the Army. And I'll tell you why. So Drill Sergeant Sweat yells at me for what other white guy did. And I said, "You're not talking about me, you're talking about this other guy." And I don't remember his name. And Drill Sergeant Sweat says, "You all look alike anyway." He says what white people normally that are racist say to black people. I was like, Jesus. You know, So Drill Sergeant Sweat always liked to put his hands on me. He always forced me to try to get into his car to ride. So if he see me walking, go get a haircut, he tried to order me in his car. I would never do it. I don't care. File the paperwork. I'm not getting in a car with you. Just put your hands on me. You like to touch on me. I think he was gay, to be honest. I'm not for sure. Maybe he just like gay men, white men. I don't know what his deal was, but he was racist. So I had to deal with the racism between everybody in that unit at that time. Now, a year and a half later, things did get a little bit better because we got a new first sergeant in. They started to break a lot of people up because more and more people started complaining. But to tell you about bad officers, so this is the first bad officer I remember was a captain, right? I had a checkbook stolen out of my car. I didn't realize my checkbook was in my car. Somebody had taken it and they were writing checks and cashing at places, and these places weren't even asking for ID in Fort Benning. So the new commander calls me in. So the new commander calls me in his office and says, "Why are you writing bad checks?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" So he shows me. I was like, "That's not even my signature." He goes, "That's your name." And so I did the most military discipline ever because I'm going to prove this idiot stupid. So I get a piece of paper out of my pocket and I pull a pen. I write his name. I said, "You see that? That's your name. You must have did it too." Oh, he was pissed because I just blew his logic away. I'm sorry, but at that time I started getting a little mouth because I got tired of all the stupidity in the Army, right? This is supposed to be a commander. You're supposed to know better. Should have investigated. You should have asked me first before you assumed anything. So now that I defeat his logic, he hates me instantly. Whatever, big deal. But we have two other idiots called Sturchio and Pierce. Were the first two pair of idiots I've ever met in my life. These guys were so stupid, so unbelievably dumb. The fact that they were even in the same military unit as me was just unbelievable. Let me explain. So, Sturchio, I'll start with him. He used to talk about SF, FSF, Special Forces. He says, "I'm so ready for Special Forces." You try to sign up for Special Forces for the longest, right? So Sturchio, all the bragging he did about Special Forces, they used to try to pick on me. These were like my first two attempted bullies. And I want to say attempted because I used to laugh my butt off at him. Pierce ended up getting divorced because he ended up cheating on his wife. He was really a bad soldier. These guys were idiots in the field. But what makes me so mad is that at 1st to 29th, we don't do a lot of field stuff, right? So they try to give awards out for anything. So there was this award ceremony, and Pierce and Sturchio, they got their name called. They go up there. They got award for an event they didn't even take place in. They weren't even there. And United States Army, we all got told just to be quiet about it. So there's no integrity at this unit. They're just giving awards to people that have no business or didn't even partake into the event. So like if you go to a field and you do really good in the field, you get an award. Okay, big deal. So they get an award for a field event they weren't even in the field for. This is the United States Army. Sturchio later on, though, his wife was from Korea. He used to talk about one thing you met if you meet a soldier from the Army. They used to say, "When I was in Korea a lot. When I was in Korea," they say that all the time. You hear that a lot. When I was in Korea. So his wife was Korean, and to his credit, our chain of command was really bad about paperwork. The chain of command would never ever sign off on paperwork. I got to turn the fan on, And so he knocks on the general's door. So every base has a general house where the highest ranking officer, that's his house, the general's house. So the general's wife answers and he says, "Can you sign this paperwork?" Well, apparently she signed the paperwork and they called the general was actually there. And they signed it and they talked about it. Chain of command got ripped. I had the same problem. So on an obstacle course when I was going through, it had iced over, which at Fort Benning was really, really weird because that time it actually snowed at Fort Benning that one time. So we were at this obstacle course and I fell from the ice and I grabbed my shoulder and you can hear a snap sound. And apparently I tore all my muscles around my calf and apparently my ball in my shoulder had severed. I didn't know that was that clicking sound I kept hearing. Well, instead of giving me the month off to recover like a doctor asked, these idiots had me go to report for duty for 2 weeks first, then try to give me 2 weeks off. And like I told my idiot, Sergeant Kiefer at this time, which I'll get into him. Sergeant Kiefer was another, Jesus. But anyway, so Sergeant Kiefer was my new squad leader at that time. He wasn't my platoon sergeant, he was my squad leader. Probably another big idiot. So basically, I didn't get any medical leave like I was supposed to. They kept making reports. So my shoulder kept getting worse and worse. They wouldn't honor my medical. And, it was just, oh God, it was horrible. So after my surgery, I got a little bit better. They bring me to, there was this big show that was supposed to take place. That's what our unit does. Matter of fact, our unit was the same one that was in that Mel Gibson movie. We Were Soldiers, Once and Young. You can actually see my racist first sergeant that was on there. He's actually the short guy that was standing in the stadium to the left, a little bit down the middle. And, I lost track, So, we are in the back of a Bradley. And we're supposed to, I think the show is for the transportation people, or the Pentagon, I'm not for sure. So, we're putting on a show, or Bradley shooting guns, so the Bradley door drops, we come running out. I jump out like you're supposed to, but I hit a rock awkward. And I end up, it's really funny, I played sports most of my life, never got hurt. I joined the Army like 1.5 years in, I get 2 surgeries. So I hit a rock awkward, and I fractured my the bone on my foot, and I had a hard time walking. This is where I start getting PTSD. They left me in the field. They thought I was faking. So everybody gets in their cars or their trucks, whatever, because everybody drives to the field at first at 29th. There's never any good transportation for the military. They leave me. I end up having the limp all the way trying to get to the hospital. If somebody stops on the road, sees me, I'm in full military gear, I'm not showered, I've been in, and I hop all the way to the hospital to get hurt, to get seen. So the guy gives me a ride a couple miles away, thank God, because I don't know if I was going to make it. My unit gets a call, and Sergeant Kiefer gets yelled at. Who's Sergeant Kiefer yells at me. He said, why didn't you tell? I did tell you. You walked away from me. You didn't believe me. And he giggled. He thought it was funny. I said, I don't think it's funny. So, to make things worse with Sergeant Kiefer, who had some resemblance to the drill sergeant from basic training. So one time, we were in this field, other than him leaving a soldier behind, which is why the chain of command didn't do anything about it, I don't know. This is what I'm trying to tell you. It leads up to Afghanistan and some of the problems that are happening in the military, right? So, we go to the field. I got Pierce and Sturchill and Sergeant Kiefer. We were in the same squad. The idiot squad is what I called it. Jeez. So we were walking. I was in point, and I turned around because I asked Sturchill, could you stop making so much freaking noise, because he kept dragging his feet. And when you're in the field, man, it's imperative you keep quiet. It's not that hard to walk around quiet, especially you just walk toe first to heel, like Native Americans used to do. But Sergeant Kiefer's like, well, it's just unrealistic. He's talking all loud. Just unrealistic that if you're walking around the field, we can't just be quiet. We gotta keep moving. It's like, Sergeant, whatever. He told me at ease. So we continued to keep walking. Lo and behold, I hear 50 meters ahead of me. So I stopped. I did this. Sergeant Kiefer's like, what? Talking all loud. I turned around. I was like, you fucking idiot, don't keep it down. And he goes, who are you talking to? I was like, you don't need it around here, make a damn noise. I was like, 50 yards that way, someone was coughing. I'm trying to be quiet myself, but I've already knocked this motherfucker out. And, you're not supposed to hit an NCO, but if anybody deserved it, it was Sergeant Kiefer at this time. I figured I had a good chance during the court-martial to explain myself why I decked this because I was about ready to, ooh, man. So the other two start laughing at me. Pierce, Sturchill, they laugh. So you know what? I tie my shoes. Why don't you guys walk first then if you're so confident? Sergeant Kiefer's like, yeah, they're dragging. Sure enough, 20 meters in. Ba, 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 ba. I hear beep, beep. All their miles gears go up, not mine. I walked around. I killed the 2 officers. So, it turns out there's 2 officers that dug a trench behind a tree. One of them did cough. I just walked around, shot both of them. The range cadre stopped the whole entire thing. Had a talk with my NCO, asking why he's making so much noise. And I told the range cadre, I reported that somebody was up there. He did nothing. Oh, he was so mad. Don't you know that Sergeant Kiefer tried calling my parents? And you know the funny thing is, I really didn't have parents that cared. I was abused. You can call them all you want, but I was. So next day in formation, when I found out he called my stepmother and my stepfather, which I don't give a damn about neither one of them, I yelled at him in front of formation. I said, if you ever call anybody's parents again because you were the dumbass, I'm going to take your ass to the damn wood line. I'm going to pull that damn... And everybody got mad at me and said, at ease. I said, next motherfucker that talks, rank or not, I'm going to... I just went off for 15 minutes at the company. I dared anybody to laugh. Nobody said crap to me after that. I never got in trouble. I never got anything for it because I was correct. You know, don't do that in the Army. I'm not telling you to do that. But at that time, I was already at my breaking point from all the racism, from all the stupidity that I kept having to deal with. So, other than Sergeant Kiefer, he was one of those type of NCOs that always bragged about how big and bad he was, how strong he was, So he just bragged a lot. Never backed up with anything. Was the worst field soldier I've ever seen in my life. I don't know why he kept bragging. How are you so bad at the field, but you brag like you're the man all the time, Sergeant Kiefer? Apparently he was out of Pittsburgh or something like that. So I used to be a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan up to that point. And man, to have 3 idiots like that and have to serve with them, you don't know what kind of patience you really need. You have to deal with the racism from the chain of command. You got to deal with the stupid officer that has extremely low IQ. Then you got to deal with Sergeant Kiefer, who is so horrible in the field. You got to deal with Pierce and Sturchio, these 2 big idiots. So all that aside, I get my surgeries done and get my cast and, you know, all that. And it's time for me to decide whether I was going to re-enlist or not. Now, my biggest thing was I always wanted to be 101st Airborne. That's what I was trying to get when I joined the Army. I didn't get it at first. I didn't really think great about the Bradley fighting vehicle. I think it's okay. I don't hate it. I don't love it either. I don't have either, emotion about it. I don't miss it. It's one of those things you just experience. I know a lot of people like it. Some people might not. It was like, either way, right? So it was time for me to decide whether I was going to re-enlist, and I figured I wanted to go to a good unit for once. I wanted to get out of the 1st to the 29th, which is a complete waste of money. And I had an opportunity to go to Fort Campbell. And they're going to offer me, I think, $20,000, I think it was, to go to Fort Campbell. And why not, right? So I get an opportunity to do what I want to do. Maybe I get a shot at going to a good unit. And they always say in the Army, if you don't like your first unit, just give it one more shot. You might find a good unit. So that's what I did. I tried to give it a shot. So there's a reason why the United States Army would offer somebody $20,000 to go to a unit. Because it is the most effed up unit in the armed services. So I go to this unit, and my first day was like, you could tell everything was disorganized. The leadership was way off. So my first day there, I didn't have a good opinion of them. So I was waiting for them to issue me a room key. And it took them forever. Well, I was getting yelled at by an E6 because I had stuff in the back of my truck and it wasn't guarded. He says, you need to put it in your room. I told the E6 I'd love to have a room, but I'm waiting on a chain of command to get it together. He goes, what'd you say? I said, I didn't stutter. It's my first day here and you guys don't have a good opinion. This is me, by the way. You're going to have to get used to it. Did you want me to put my stuff in a damn room? Give me a damn room. 5 minutes later, finally got a damn room. I got written up my first day there too, but it's just the way it is. I'm not going to tolerate it. You're going to act stupid and I'm going to call you out on it. And he was actually a good NCO. It was just the wrong foot. Actually, he was one of the better NCOs. I don't remember his name. When we went to Iraq, he was a damn good NCO. One of the few out there, right? So at this time, we knew that this unit I was going to, we were going to deploy to Iraq. Here's the problem. I was still having a problem with my shoulder. So I kept going to the Army Medical. Army Medical said that I'm not good yet. I was having problems. And apparently they didn't remove my chip bone. You could hear my bone clicking on. It hurt to hold a weapon, actually. So when I hold my weapon like this, it really, I can't explain it. So my ball was split. So when I hold my weapon, it was clicking like that, and it was pinching inside, and it hurt like, oh man. So they thought I was faking it, even though a major had signed off on this. They said I needed surgery. So the commander at this, we had two, I call them the dual commanders because there was no difference. We had Captain Cunningham and Captain Morgan, and I think Captain Morgan was the first one. Cunningham was the second, if I remember correctly. And my God, these officers. At first, second at 5:02. That's what it was. Yeah, strike force. Second at 5:02. We had the spade on our helmet, right? Or is it the heart? Spade, yeah. I don't even remember. No, I think we had the heart. It's a shame I don't remember, but I have a problem with that sometimes, my memory now, because of PTSD. I'll explain that later. But anyway, so at second at 5:02, Charlie Company, you could already tell there was issues right off the bat. We had some problems with the other NCOs, so they wouldn't let me get my surgery. They kept saying that we're going to go to war, there's no surgery, which wasn't true. They were just being a-holes. So, all the bad stuff aside at that time, I was actually a good soldier there. I actually didn't mind it for most of the time. They tried to make me an armor, go to the arms room school, go to the arms room to be, the issue the weapons, right? So I became an armor for a little bit until the very end. We're getting ready to deploy. I'm not going to get into it, but we had what was that lieutenant's name? I can't think of it. So we had a couple lieutenants that were out of West Point, right? And these are not the brightest people around West Point. And here's why I say that in the United States Army, we got to stop letting officers in straight out of college. One of the biggest fixes we could do to make our military better is you make anybody to the rank of E5 sergeant first before they go to officer. We got to stop letting people in straight out of school to become officers, leading people that have been deployed 2 or 3 times. It doesn't make any sense. It hasn't made sense in 200 years, and it is a constant problem in the United States Army. If you want real respect in the United States Army, make sergeant first, then go to officer school. The Pentagon needs to fix that crap. It needs to stop. I'm going to tell you why it needs to stop. Because if you were a lieutenant, you haven't been promoted yet. So private first class has been promoted twice. A lieutenant hasn't. You don't know anything. You are no different than a private. But how in the world are you going to make decisions? Why? Because you took a couple of courses in school? Ooh, big deal. But this is the United States Army's logic. It was the same logic that anybody seen that movie where they put the base down in the valley and so the Taliban could shoot down at everybody? That's the kind of officers that the United States Army makes. That's the kind of officers we have problems with. So alongside from being an armor and having to deal with this officer all the time and a couple of other lieutenants, so eventually we get deployed. So we go to Iraq. I still have my profile because I've not gotten my surgery done yet. It still hurts. So they leave me in Kuwait. I get left in Kuwait for 3 months with other people that are just like me. There's like maybe 10 people, maybe 11. Most of us either needed surgeries or they stay behind for whatever. There's various reasons, okay? So I was already pissed at my commander at that time because they're going to leave me after they dragged me all the way over there. I wasn't even trying to get a war. I always wanted to go to war. I wanted to say I went to war. I had no problem going to war. I'm a field soldier. I just want to go to war 100%, not 50. That's all I was asking for the Army, to take responsibility. You know, I did my part, do your part, right? So the commander's pissed because they tried getting lieutenant to sign off on my profile saying I was okay, but the lieutenant said I wasn't okay. And anybody knows the United States Army, lieutenant cannot sign over a major. So problems with that alone as it is, I get left, okay, 3 months. And while I was gone, I've seen a lot of stuff that was really screwed up. So the Jessica Lynch story happened. Along with Jessica Lynch's story, I think it was 3ID, the broken TV patch from Fort Benning that I remember. They went in one of the first units there, like us, and they got told they were going to go home. And I remember sitting around this whole circle, the commander was talking to everybody. And everybody kept saying, we're going to be there a few months, and we're going to kick butt, we're going to kick the Iraqi army's butt. And so they got to me, and I raised my hand and says, yes, Private Johnson. And I said, first of all, we're not going to be here a few months. We're going to be here over a year. This is multiple deployment. Who is it you guys think we're going to be fighting? They're not going to be in the Iraqi army this time. This is not going to be like the first Desert Storm. We're going to be creating our own monster here. This is a 10-year plus war, and everybody laughed at me. And I still feel vindicated today because a few people remember me giving that speech. And 3 months in, a lot of people are hating me. I said, hey, it's your guys' mindset. I told you we're going to be here a year. You guys are too busy listening to a commander. You should have been listening to common sense. I'm not trying to undermine a chain of command or not, but you don't tell your men a few months. Even if it was true, you don't tell them that. Use your brain. That was always Captain Morgan's problem. He didn't have a brain. Very low IQ individual. You know, oh, there's a few times in the Army where you just have this most glorious day, right? And I have in my ear so I could talk. I have a problem in my ear. So, no, it was Captain Cunningham. That's a different story later. But anyway, so I see 3ID come through. And they're washing all their vehicles off, and they're so happy that they're gonna get to go home. This is how screwed up the Pentagon is. I have no love for the Pentagon. The Pentagon is full of idiots. I've not met anybody in the Pentagon that I'd ever want to go to combat with. I'm not trying to be mean, but the Pentagon's stupid. This is how stupid they are. They demoralized a whole division. So you tell these people they're gonna go home. You tell these people that their part in this war is over. You have them clean their vehicles up. They're all happy. They're calling their wives. They're calling their family. And what did this Pentagon idiots do? They send them back to Iraq. Can you imagine that being that demoralized, thinking you're going to go home after 3 months in the war, thinking you just lived and you're going to have to go right back? That's the kind of Pentagon that we had problems with right from the get-go, man. You don't do that to people. Whoever made that decision to pull 3ID off that line to say that you're going to go back to Fort Benning, you guys are going to get to go home, turn around, have them clean everything, and send them back? I'm sorry, but somebody should have been relieved over that. But here's the other problem we had, a lot of men have, basically. So as in the infantry, we didn't have any women. I think there is now. It's not that we hated women. The general census was we don't mind women, and we just wanted them to have the same standards as us, carry the same gear as us, do the same amount of push-ups as us, do the same amount of sit-ups, and run just as fast. And I only met one girl in the United States military that could from Fort Benning. She was that badass that could. That's all we asked, right? So we don't hate women. We treat them the same. Just make the same standard. But the problem in the military is women don't have to do the push-ups we do. They don't have to do the sit-ups we do. They don't have to run fast as we do. And all through the war, there was problems of women. But none more so than Jessica Lynch. So Jessica Lynch and her famous platoon was driving around and they get attacked. Well, it turns out a doctor had taken Jessica Lynch into his private care. Anybody remember that movie of Mark Wahlberg where that Afghan, and I forgot the name of it, where they say that you're in my care, the Taliban is not supposed to mess with you, you're under my, whatever. Same thing with her. So the doctor takes her in. It turns out she was never a POW. So she goes on national TV and she gives this big speech about she fired her weapon down to the last bullet and how brave she was and that she was raped and beaten. It turned out she was never raped. She was never beaten. She never fired her weapon. The only reason why I know she didn't fire her weapon is because the MP unit that was attached to 3ID come through when I was in Kuwait and I talked to them. And they said that was complete BS. They didn't, the people that fired on their convoy that killed some of their people didn't even take their weapons. Their weapons were still there when the MPs showed up. It wasn't even the infantry that came, it was the MPs. They said that their weapons were in such bad shape that they were never even cleaned, that they couldn't even fire their weapons. That was the military discipline coming out of Jessica Lynch's unit. They weren't even cleaning their damn weapons. And this is a primarily female unit that was driving through, right? But it turns out Jessica Lynch's big mistake, there's three other survivors. One of them was a black girl. That black girl was beaten. That black girl was raped. What did George Bush do, though? Gave Jessica Lynch all these great TV time. Gave her these awards. But the black girl didn't get a damn thing. Everything Jessica Lynch said she did, the black girl did. That's the problem I have in the military. I don't like people like Jessica Lynch, but I admire that black woman that was captured, that was beaten, that was a POW. I think they just got released. They sent them on their way, basically, right? And, man, this is not even 6 months in the war and everything's screwed up from the get-go, right? So finally, I go to Iraq with my unit, and from the get-go, there's these two idiots. There's always two. There's a Pierce and Sturchill in every army unit. So there's this Hughes and Halpin. Halpin's from New York. I forgot where Hughes is from. Might be Georgia. Hughes is a hobbit, 4 foot nothing. Thinks he's as bad Aside from him being like an absolute nobody, they promoted him to E5 for some reason. He replaced me as the armor. Stupid man. Very stupid, low IQ individual. Got trouble with alcohol. Loses E5. But like I said, why did Lieutenant even promote him? Lieutenant should have known better. It turned out when I got to this unit, my unit, right? I talked to my squad leader, Sergeant Williams. So I had a love and hate for Sergeant Williams. Sergeant Williams wasn't a bad man. He was just a very lazy man. And I'll explain that later. So, Hughes and Halpin have been talking so much crap about me that I had to pull them aside and I corrected both of them. And the commander and everybody overheard me. But like I told everybody in the unit, I'm not interested in your opinion. So how can I explain this? I was supposed to be on radio detail. Hughes is sitting next to me. Halpin walks over, starts mouthing off. Talk about I shouldn't be getting a profile. I said it. Medically speaking, nobody can stop me. I'm not trying to stop me from doing my job. I just need it because I'm still hurt. I still need surgery. Commander says don't get a profile. I got up, left my unit, went and got it anyway. Came back, sat back down. I told everybody now what. That was my attitude because you left me in Kuwait. Now you want me to respect you as a commander? Fuck, no. F you. F you. So I'm already starting to develop post-traumatic stress syndrome. So Hughes and Halpin starts talking crap. So I get up and I look in Hughes' eyes. I said to both of them, if you guys don't shut up, you guys will be the first people I've ever had to put my hands on. And it won't turn out the way you think it's going to turn out, buddy. Commander says, you don't talk to I said, tell the commander, you're next. I literally threatened the commander. Sergeant Williams came over, calmed everybody down. He pulled me away from that unit. He put me on convoys. So the commander already didn't like me. Our commander, though, was so stupid, that he sat there and he threatened everybody. He said the first person to AD their weapon, he was going to Article 15. Article 15 means you're going to get in trouble in some sort. You're going to get extra time, which in Iraq is freaking hilarious. You're going to get your money taken away. But you know who the first person to AD their weapon was? Captain Morgan. Playing around with an Iraqi weapon that was, I think, all chrome or gold. I don't remember the whole thing. Shoots a weapon across everybody and hits a pillar. Lucky he didn't kill nobody. Nothing happens to him. But he threatened everybody else to Article 15. That's how stupid the military is. So other than that, we're riding around convoys, right? I ended up blowing through my ammo, I think, the first few months. Because I rode around every single convoy there was just to make sure I stayed away from my unit, which Sergeant Williams didn't have a problem with. Because Hughes and Halpins, I want them. Still today, man. Two big idiots. It's just, if you're going to try to bully somebody, make sure you don't bully a Batista or Triple H or John Cena. Bully somebody that's smaller than you, like a smaller hobbit. At the very end in the Army, when we get back, Halpin kept trying to run his mouth, and we got tasked out to go help do something. I forgot what it was, just a sweep in a motor pool or something like that. Halpin starts mouthing off. He was the first person I ever put my hands on. I literally grabbed him by the collar, and I shoved him over the broom. I said, if you say another word, you're going to eat it. Don't you ever say another damn word about me. I made him cry. I made him cry in front of formation right before I left, too. He kept running his mouth. He didn't learn his lesson. So I said, you know what, Halpin? Right in front of everybody right now, let's go. I took my BDU top off. I says, right now, either man up or bitch up. They'd be like, ooh, commander comes out. I said, if you say a damn word, we had a different commander, you be next. At that time, I didn't give a damn what my discharge was. I was ready to whip some people's asses. I got tired of their damn mouths. From now on, either put up or shut up. That was my attitude at that time. Because of Halpin and Pierce and Sturchio's and Hughes's and these bad officers who made bad decisions. This is what happens in Afghanistan, because this wasn't the only unit this was an issue for. Now I keep explaining so you understand how it builds and elevates out of control. So, we were in Iraq. I had a RPG hit my damn door. I looked over. I told the driver, our wives are going to get rich tonight. Oh, by the way, did you know when I got married at Fort Campbell, they tried calling me in on my wedding day for something stupid to put in the arms room? That they could have put in another arms room, or they could have just kept at the desk. They knew I was having a wedding that Saturday, and these a-holes wouldn't even let me have a damn wedding. I didn't get one damn day off. The almost 5 years I served in the military, I never took a day leave. Never one day leave. And they couldn't give me the one damn day off for a wedding? That's shameful. Shameful chain of command. Second and 502nd, you're just as pitiful as you can be, man. So anyway, I ride around these convoys, and I'm watching RPG hit my door. My door panel lights up like it would a cartoon channel. Like if Bugs Bunny opens up a door and a rocket flies through. It was literally just like that. Lucky for me that RPG didn't blow, either because it didn't arm it right, or it was too short a distance, or it was a dud. I thought I was a dead man that night. Well, man, it happened quite a few times. I just, sorry. To make things worse, to explain the problems I was in the military, we never had radios on our convoys leaving. Why wasn't there radios on our convoys? Why wasn't there a backup plan saying that we leave at this time? If we're not back at this time, this rescue unit automatically goes out. That's the kind of things that should have been in place. It wasn't in place. I actually asked that for a few NCOs. And I was like, why don't we have a contingency plan? Why isn't there radios on this? Why aren't we communicating? What's going on? Did you know most of the POWs that were in Iraq was because of convoys? Most of the deaths were because of convoys. And there was no there's no thing governing this. Why? You guys are officers out of West Point. You brag about how big and bad you are, but when it's time to man up and do something, where are you? You're giving PowerPoint presentations on what? All the officers in my company, they try giving themselves bronze stars for doing what? Thank God an NCO put a stop to that, but bronze stars for doing what? So other than 2nd and 502nd riding around with no radios, no contingency plan, no one to call if you get in trouble. But there was one officer who deserves credit, was out of, I don't remember, his headquarters of Bravo. Please forgive me, I don't remember. But if we ever got attacked, he was there. He was there. Not just for us, for anybody. He was the first one to respond. He was the first one to use his brain. He actually had people on standby by the Humvees, by the gates at all times in case something, he rotated them out. The only lieutenant to do that, just to have a quick rescue. We could have been on the opposite side of Baghdad, opposite side of Mosul. He would have been there, the first one to respond before the nearest unit would have been. I don't remember your name, sir, but you were one of the few officers I would still follow to this day. And you weren't even my officer. You were the officer everybody should have been. But to make things worse about Iraq, so we're sitting there, not a lot of missions going on. Yeah, we went out and we got a few people counterfeiting, a few people holding wires. Ooh, nothing's really going on. Then you hear George Bush saying, we need 60,000 more people. So I'm sitting in a chow hall and I'm watching this on news. For what? Our lunch line is already long as it is anyway. What do we need 60,000 more people for? No talking until I'm done with my video. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't know I was recording that. But anyway, this is so this is the problem that we have. If you look at most of the kills, most of it was from convoys. The enemy figured this out real quick. They knew what our orders were. That's stupid. Why are we running in a firefight? It's supposed to be the biggest, baddest military unit around. So aside from that, all the times that we got attacked, so aside from that, this is the constant problems that we're having in Iraq, right? So amazingly, we make it all through this, and the bad officers, the bad decision making, our military vehicles were not up to military war power, which is another problem that got solved later with the newer issue in Humvees, right? And so we were getting ready to be relieved by the Striker. These new Strikers that come in, they were talking about how big and bad the Strikers were, how the Strikers could take an RPG because they have some kind of gate on the outside. Within the first month after we got back, we already hearing that strikers are being blown up by RPGs, because the gates are this big on the strikers. RPGs only like this. It was blowing through the gates like it was nothing. So strikers were getting blown out of the sky, and it was just, Iraq was just, there was no purpose. We weren't doing anything in Iraq. We didn't have to lose all those people, right? And the same thing with Afghan. So other than you're watching these videos online of soldiers running during an attack, there's no eyes in the sky, there's no Predator drone, there's no Apache helicopters, there's no anything. And you can see what's going on in Afghanistan. So this is setting the standard, because we were the first. So now we're setting the standard of how to operate, and it didn't work. And nobody's correcting this chain of command. And so the chain of command goes up to the Pentagon, and they think it's the standard to operate. So now you're getting movies, 6, 7 years in, of them putting military bases in the bottom of a hill. And they said, yeah, well, there was an investigation. It turned out it was just bad. No kidding. No kidding, it was bad judgment. You don't need an investigation for that. Can you believe that Pentagon actually had an investigation on why it was so? What happened to this military? It's a movie. You could find it, Google it. How's everybody out there with an IQ of a P or higher knows you don't put a military base in the bottom of a hill? That's stupid. That's ignorant. How many people got to die because of some dumb officer who doesn't have to serve there make that decision? And that's another problem. If you make a decision, you need to be in it too. So if you want a base there, you better live there too. There was problems from the get-go. So when we get back, though, I'm going to tell a story. So we get a new commander, Captain Cunningham, who didn't want his men to train in hand-to-hand combat. So during Iraq, we had a squad that kicked down the door, one of the few missions that we went on, going after, I think, a IED maker, right? And one of our sergeants got rolled because when he kicked the door down, there was an Iraqi there. And it took another E5 to shoot him off of him. So we actually had a physical confrontation, man-to-man fight already. But our commander didn't want to, I'm not talking bad about it could happen to me or anybody. It could happen, there's chances. But Captain Cunningham didn't want anybody to train in hand-to-hand combat, which is stupid. I trained in it. I'm pretty damn good at it. That's why I'm confident. That's why I always walk away from the fight, because I don't want to kill anybody. But basically, so he says, we need a volunteer. So during PT, he goes, I need a volunteer. I had a funny feeling I know he's going to do. I just need somebody to lay down on their back. So I lay down on my back, volunteered. He comes over and he gets on top of me. He goes, I'm going to show you why that hand-to-hand combat training is useless. And so Private Johnson, you're going to try to get me off. I got him off in 2 seconds. He was a ranger. I had a profile in my arm. I was still waiting for my other surgery. I got him off me in 2 seconds and got him in a headlock on his back. Oh, he was angry. Oh, was he angry. It was so unbelievably angry. And I said, anybody wants to train in hand-to-hand combat, if he's too stupid to train you, I'll train you. This is 101st Airborne. We need to train for all situations. If you don't agree with that, I looked him down and I said right to his ear, if you don't agree with that, this is not the unit for you. But basically, at that time, I had cancer and I was starting to slow down. I had a hard time breathing. I didn't know what was going on. So I kept going to medic again, and of course they already think that I'm just trying to get additional profiles, but I kept telling them there's something wrong, nobody's listening. And the medic said I had allergies, but it turned out I was already in stage 4 cancer. I had cancer the whole entire time when I was in Iraq, and it kept getting worse and worse. But according to the United States Army, I had allergies. Nope, I was dying. I literally had cancer. I was part of the fires that was going on. Lucky I got paid for it because they were able to timeline my cancer. It was really easy for them at the VA to do. But I tell you what, man, the United States military is so messed up. We had this sergeant major who died in 2nd or 502nd, right? I mean, yeah, Strike Force. He cheated on his wife at Fort Campbell with his girlfriend. He cheated on his girlfriend and his wife going to these Iraqi bordello houses. So there's Iraqi bordello houses where women were prostitutes, but it was forced sex slaves, basically what it is, just like anywhere else, right? So this idiot sergeant major and his driver in his white truck, and by the way, there's only 2 types of cars in Iraq, BMW or white Volkswagen with an orange door. So if you are in a white truck, you are an American. It's completely obvious. So the sergeant major thinks he's big and bad, thinks he's all muscular, nobody's going to do nothing to him, gets him and his driver killed, and they're on TV to getting their bodies dragged across the streets because he was driving to an Iraqi bordello house like an idiot and got his driver killed. I don't care about him dying, but he got his driver killed. Those people don't even know back in America how their son died because they weren't even told the full truth. Because he left his convoy. The news said that he lost his... You don't lose your convoy. You don't lose your convoy. Especially in Iraq, you move slow, it's traffic. How do you lose your convoy? You don't lose your convoy. He left. He was going to the Iraqi bordello houses to have sex. And he got himself killed being stupid. And you know what's really pissing me off? There's a memorial with his name on it out in front of 2nd and 502nd Strike Force. That should piss you off too. This is why I have PTSD daily. This is why I say that officers need to be E5 before they go to officer school. We got to end this stupid crap, because if you don't, and we don't, one day we're going to fight a real army and we're not going to be prepared. The United States Army right now, you can get mad at me, but hand to hand, straight up firefight with Russia or China, we would get our butts kicked if it wasn't for the Air Force and Navy. We don't have the right leaders and we're not promoting the right ideas. If things don't change, things will never get better. And we need a president and somebody else that's brave enough to make these changes. We gotta stop these stupid officers from making decisions. We gotta stop these Pentagon officials from making stupid decisions. Stop going to these Muslim countries arming the men. We're better off arming a woman. At least a woman will put up a damn fight because she don't want to go back to that kind of life. We gotta stop the stupidness. Stop the stupid crap. Stop people like me from getting PTSD and dying. Stop these letters going home to these soldiers, families, saying your son died because of some stupid idiot at Pentagon was too stupid to think. That's what's going on. We didn't die in some kind of glorious combat situation. We handed them all these deaths. We handed them all this PTSD. For what? Now I can't sleep at night no more as it is. I'm sick. I'm dying. I'm not expected to live much longer. A lot of people don't know that. I don't think my wife understands it. I'm not expected to live but a few more years. I gotta leave this earth knowing that the United States Army is such shambles that it can't even perform proper functions in Afghanistan because of stupid ass leaders. Dumbasses. Anyway, thanks for watching Joe's Corner. I had to say all that. I had to get it off my chest because Afghanistan could have been a lot better if we had just smart leaders, man. It's not that hard to be smart. That's why you got to take the military machine out of everything. Take the money out of everything. Stop making money off war. I shouldn't have to be sick and die so some rich white man in Pentagon can get a little bit richer. It's got to stop.